if you recall, Gil has just successfully won the Dire race, which is
The
on was
first
held on the
place.
second first place. You're
This
the
is
only
insane.
person to complete the race. Actually, there's only one prize. Generally, there's not that many winners. um, the
Incredible.
crowd is going wild. Everybody's like super stoked. Um, you get kind of like escorted. There's kind of like a gate that opens up. There was an invisible wall of force cast, so like the dire wolves can't get through. They're like scraping up against the wall. And there's like a gate that opens, and all these people run out, and they're like picking you up on their shoulders and stuff. And you basically get like walked kind of like up a ramp into like if you recall, there's kind of like a central like seating area, kind of like the bougie seats, where Ginter Silvereye, who is the storm giant that is running the entire Dungeon Brawl festival, is seated. And Ginter kind of just like looks down at you approvingly, doesn't say anything. But there is a couple servants of Ginter, a couple gnomes that like draw out this like chest, and like lay it down in front of you. And on top of the chest, there is a like a cup, like a golden chalice, that's encrusted with emeralds and rubies, and they like hand it up to you, and the whole like crowd like cheers.
Yeah. Yeah.
Ginter even gives like a few solitary claps, which is a high praise from a storm giant.
What?
And yeah, you one of the gnomes like opens up like the chest, and they're like, "Your winnings," and they're like, "Congratulations," and they're pretty stoked for you.
I am also stoked beyond belief.
Okay, great. Yeah, there's a couple objects in here. You can see. I guess you don't have to like dive into it right now, but you see that there's a lot of gold. There seems to be like a fancy suit of armor, and like some like scrolls and amulets. And then one of the gnomes actually also carries up like a lance, like a jousting spear, um, that has like the kind of like the colors of like the Dungeon Brawl like on it. And this seems to be kind of the standard like race winners fare, is that you get like this lance and this cup in addition to kind of a chest full of other things.
Incredible. So it's I get the chest. I
Yeah,
don't
the
have to
chest
choose
is
anything.
yours.
That's
You don't have to choose
incredible.
anything. They close the lid and they give it back. They give it to you. And there's like a spokesperson for Ginter, that's like an elf, that says that kind of like pulls you up and is like, "What's your name? What's your name, kid?"
My name is Gil Moira.
And then they hold up like a little like circlet, like a wooden like circlet to their mouth, and it's like a voice amplifier. And they say, Gilmoira, like winner of the dire race, and like lift your hand up in the air, and everybody's like cheering super loud. And then they say, this chest has come from the vault beneath the giant's table. And they say, this and many more will be awarded over the next few days. And like everybody's like, screaming and cheering. And then the elf like takes the thing down, and he says, "You got some good bodyguards? Got a place to hide that thing?"
Yes, actually, I have a great team. I'm a part of the Heroes of Time, and we're going to compete in the Blood Bowl in 2 days.
And he says, "Yeah, sure, kid, sure, kid." And he's like, "Just don't lose track of that box." And then he just kind of like slaps you on the back, and there's like a big crowd of people like bustling around you and all like slapping you on the back and stuff.
Amazing. I look to see Z and Osimo in the crowd, and I hold up the cup, and I hold up the lance, and I say, "I did it! We did it!"
And I'm
See,
gonna message him or Gil and say hero of time.
I start to cry, but I'm holding it back. So I guess after the fanfare, and
Yeah,
I'm glad
yeah.
to like handshaking and stuff, I finally find my partners and I say, I won! I can't believe I won! Did you see the race? Did you watch everything? You know, and I start to gush and share my enthusiasm.
Nice.
Did you see that one part where I totally came out of the shadows and I stabbed that wolf? Did you see that? You know, and all that stuff.
That was pretty awesome. That was pretty awesome.
Actually, it was.
Yeah, you were one of the few people in the race to kill one of the dire wolves.
The whole group is like, cheering, giving you hugs, and just been like, Gilmoira, as we like carry you back to the ship,
Nice. Are you gonna tell Z? Are you gonna tell Gil that you cast sleep on one of the dire wolves? You're just gonna keep that to yourself.
Didn't keep that to myself.
Nice.
At some point when we get back to the boat, not the boat, I don't know what you call it, the ship.
The ship, yeah.
I'm gonna say, now I feel like I'm a contributing member of the team. I can put the winnings into the general pot, and we can. I'm paying my fare. I'm paying my way, or whatever. I'm earning my keep.
We'll be like, whoa, like you won this fair and square. You get to keep 100%, but just make sure, like, I'm looking at the ship and I'm looking at the crew's quarters. Sorry, Ian, do we make it all the way to the ship? Does anything happen?
Yeah, I guess.
Okay.
No.
Before we
I mean, like, you have to kind of. It probably takes you like an hour and a half or so because like people are all like bustling up against you and congratulating you and stuff and like. But no, you guys can kind of meander your way back to the ship if that's where you're headed and.
Cool.
Yeah, so it's probably like mid-morning. It's probably like 10 a.m. at this point.
Okay, sweet. Yeah, I'm looking at like the ship and I'm seeing like Gil's like victory and it's like, oh, because we have the crew's quarters, but I'm like, does Gil need her own like space,
Well, because Osimo sleeps in the captain's quarters and then you sleep with the crew in the crew's quarters, right? So that's how that works.
Yeah. Mostly because I make sure everyone wakes up on time for training, so
that's right. You could build, you have like a big dining room area that you haven't really done anything with. You could turn that into like more crew quarters if you don't want like a big council room. You could also like separate. You could, if you wanted, you could like do a construction project and you could like break out the crew's quarters into like individual cabins if you wanted. You wouldn't be able to have as many people on board,
right,
but it would be like more comfortable for your crew if you really wanted to do that.
Yeah. That's more just like musings in general, but I'll be like, hey Gil, like what if we keep your treasure locked in the captain's quarters, but no one's gonna touch it, that's all yours, and this lance, I'm like, holding it like, whew, this is gorgeous. This is definitely gonna help out in the Dungeon Brawl.
And you, if you want to, you can take an hour to examine the objects in your chest and reveal what they do by attuning to them.
I would love to do that, but I also don't want to hold anybody up. So that's something maybe I can do.
No,
right now.
Okay, fine. I want to know what it does.
It'll go fast. It's fun. Okay,
great. Let's do it.
So, the lance itself is it's called the Lance of Triumph.
Amazing.
It gives you a +1 bonus to attack and damage rolls. So it's basically just like a +1 attack and damage lance. And it also glows in the presence of dragons.
Oh,
whoa!
So when it's kind of similar to like a sting situation with orcs, it will glow if there's dragons nearby.
Classy.
Incredible.
You also have an amulet called the Amulet of Luck. It's a golden amulet with a clover insignia, and it grants you. This is a very good item. It gives you +1 to all saving throws.
Oh my gosh!
Whoa, that's very nice.
What is it? What was the emblem on it?
A clover.
Oh, great!
Like a lucky clover. Yeah.
Amazing.
And then this one I'm quite fond of. It's called the Breastplate of Glimmer. So it is like a breastplate, so it will add +2 to your armor class.
Need that.
I think I might have it give you like disadvantage on stealth checks because it is kind of like clunky and like it's like it's a very glimmery and sparkly.
Yeah.
However, it gives you advantage on charisma checks while you're standing in the sunlight.
Oh, that's amazing.
That's incredible.
So it makes you very persuasive if you are in
The
full sun.
sunlight.
In the right lighting. Yeah.
So funny.
And then you have this chalice, like this golden cup. It's encrusted with emeralds and rubies. So it seems pretty expensive. You also just have 750 gold worth of coins.
Wow.
And then there's also some gemstones. So you have 3 diamonds that are each worth 100 gold, and 2 emeralds that are each worth 150 gold apiece.
Wow.
And
That's
then there's
incredible.
one more thing kind of at the bottom of the chest, and it's a scroll. And it's in Dwarvish. The scroll is written in Dwarvish, which I don't know if you read Dwarvish.
I don't.
But it seems very old. And you don't know what it does. But maybe somebody else in your party can
I
read it
speak
and find out what
Dwarvish.
it does.
Look at this. Look at this scroll. I don't recognize the letters.
Must be Dwarvish. Gil.
What does it say?
Great eye.
Yeah.
Don't
Go
run
ahead
with
and-
scissors.
Go ahead and make an Arcana check, which I know you're very good at.
That's insane.
25.
Oh my god.
25. Yep. Yeah, so this is a very old dwarf scroll. Probably written by one of the dwarves. Like one of the OG dwarves, you would suspect. You're not quite sure who, because it's not signed, but it seems old. It's a scroll of commune, is kind of what you pick up. And essentially there is an incantation on it. That's like really old dwarvish magic. But if you're reading it correctly, it grants you, like, if you do the incantation correctly, it's going to grant you a meeting essentially with a god.
Oh my.
What?
Yeah, with one of the gods, and you're not 100% sure which of the gods it is because they're spoken of in kind of like vague terms, like there are things around, like they're kind of like in the way that when like we talk about like Jesus, we see like, like the Redeemer or like the Son of Man or like that kind of thing without like saying their name sometimes. It's the wording is kind of like that, where it's kind of like describing like the traits around like this person without like actually describing them. Um, but some of the traits seem to be like they something like they call like the keen-eyed god, and the swift god are like they're kind of like vague translations of how they're describing this god.
Interesting.
The Swift God.
You kind of pick up by context that, like, because you understand that the dwarves were like traveling all over to different planes and stuff and creating different planes, and so you kind of pick up by like context that like the dwarves at certain points needed to get in touch with certain gods or maybe even make negotiations with gods or deals with them or something, and so the dwarves would kind of like circulate these spells between themselves, so that when they were like off like doing work or something, if they needed to contact one of the deities, they could use it. It seems like it's, for everything that's described in it, it seems like it's single use. It seems like the scroll will probably be consumed after the incantation is spoken.
Whoa.
God,
That is insane.
my hands start to shake as Hey viewers, quick pause here. Austin's microphone had some technical difficulties in this episode. He had the threshold too high, so a lot of his speaking isn't heard. Basically, I'm going to summarize in the different sections where my microphone cuts out. I'll summarize what I said so that you're still not missing anything. Here, I basically am just role-playing out the part where my hands are shaking after Gil has read this scroll, or I've interpreted the scroll for her, and I just say take good care of it, guard it well, because contact with the dwarven gods is a big deal.
And don't ever say the word this and this. And Gil's like, what?
Just another adventure in another dimension.
I know. See, I'll be back soon.
Oh my gosh.
No, I'm just gonna suggest that you save keep it. Maybe we do it after we learn more about the dwarf.
Yeah. We'll assume that I'm there, listening and watching, and yes, I think after your last experience with I don't know if that thing was deity, but interdimensional beings, I think we want to make sure we're as prepared as we can be, especially if it's a one-time use thing.
So at some point, you'll have to educate me on the dwarves because I do not know this history.
Yeah.
I will say your general knowledge of the dwarves is that dwarves in the world that you guys are in are actually very similar to the way that we might talk about dwarves or elves or giants within our world a little bit, which is that a lot of people think that they're more of a fable or a myth. And if they did exist, they existed a very, very long time ago. Nobody Dwarvish is the equivalent of Latin. Nobody really speaks Dwarvish anymore, but there are some people who can read it because it's written on super old texts. And there's a bunch of old folk tales about dwarves and stuff. But that's basically the way that dwarves are. Most people have never met a dwarf. Or if they have met a dwarf, they're oh, that's just a strong gnome. Nobody it would be if you met someone today who was I'm an elf, and you'd be that's not a real thing. That.
Yeah.
But they might look a little different. So, yeah.
Cool. Okay. Amazing. Well, I appreciate you guys keeping the. I would love to keep the scroll and the breastplate and the lance and the chalice, but I'm more than happy to put the money into the pot for the team and the jewels.
We can drop the jewels and the money into the combined thing if you.
Yeah, if you're down,
let's do
don't be shy about using it. There's something you really want. I'm really good at haggling.
We'll add 750 gold, and then we'll also add diamonds times 3, 100 gilpy each, and then we'll add emeralds times 2, 150 gold each.
Amazing.
Okay.
I hope that every adventure I generate an AI image of Z with a sack of money in some.
That was my favorite when I showed it. I showed it to Taylor. I was like, "This is so funny," and she was like, "Because I tried to give context, but I was like, yeah, you had to be there." But I was like.
Yeah, I do just love Z just constantly carrying around a sack of money at all times. Just does anybody need this?
Well, you missed it, David, when we were in Sulfuron, the first time. We were just throwing around money like nobody's business. It was.
Yeah, it was crazy.
It is kind of wild the amount of money that you guys have. Especially coming in at a level 5. It's
we definitely once it got to the point of we've toppled multiple hierarchies and stuff. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
There's bound to be some money in that.
We've destroyed entire economies.
Azimo thanks you for your generosity. He's grateful that you're such a team player.
Oh my gosh, this is anyways, she's trying to keep her composure and not go fangirl. But she's very excited and just feels really, especially now that she's won this race, she feels like she's earned it. You know what I mean?
Yes.
She's a part of the team.
Nice.
It's a big deal for
you guys. You guys here, as you're kind of celebrating this and kind of looking over the things. You hear? I guess are you guys probably in the captain's quarters or something, looking over this stuff?
Yeah.
Maybe
Mm-hmm.
That would be my suspicion. There's a knock on the door, and your your captain's navigator, their name escapes you, Clara like pops their head in, and they're like, "There's somebody down below the ship who seems to know you. They want to talk to you."
Did she say who specifically, or did she say us as like, no, you guys?
Kind of you guys, more probably specifically Ozzy. I guess are Astro and Sinjin in there.
Maybe.
It doesn't really matter too much. Mostly
Yeah.
Ozimo. Like they're like
Cool.
she seems kind of be looking at Ozimo. But
Sweet.
yeah.
What race is this person?
Looked like a half orc. Seemed to be well traveled.
Hey.
Oh,
I think I know who it is.
yeah. I say let's go then.
Yeah, you guys
Out
can
with
walk out onto the deck and you look on over kind of the ladder. I'm just presuming you guys have like a rope ladder or something that you can go
Yeah.
up and down the ship in. But yeah, down below Ozimo, you recognize a familiar face that you haven't seen in probably 4 or 5 months. And it is Larky,
I
the
knew it.
half orc bard who explored the Blood Temple with you and Astrogard many months ago.
Hey, he was a half orc.
Mm-hmm.
That's
I mean,
so funny.
It's okay. It's been what, 2 years of real time, 3 years maybe of real time since that actually happened. It's only been, I think, 5 to 6 months of game time.
Just like yesterday.
My mental perception of that character has shifted so much. Oh,
Yeah,
dude,
but,
Larky, yes.
Yeah, you recognize her. She's wearing kind of like traveler's clothes from like the south. Has like a bow and like a lute on her back, and she calls up to you and she's like, "Azimo, Astro," and she kind of grins and is like, "Looks like you've done pretty well for yourselves." Kind of like looking at the ship.
Yeah, I hop down and featherfall my way to the ground
Nice.
and give him a brace. Larky, right? That's
Nice. Larky is her name. Yep.
yeah, what great to see you. Like I never thought, I didn't think that our paths would cross so much so soon.
She says, "I'm at the Dungeon Brawl every year." She kind of sees, presumably, other people should. She wants to meet the whole party, so presumably other people can come down. And
Yeah.
and she says, like, you've made some new companions, and she kind of looks around. In particular, she's interested in Z. I think she kind of has probably never seen a Warforged before, and she says, it's funny. She says, I thought you might be here. She says, I saw someone who was dressed in your clothing, but then she kind of looks at you and she's like, but they weren't you.
Where did you see?
She kind of like looks around and she's like, how about I get you a drink? She's like, we it seems like we might have some things to talk about. She's like, times have been moving fast in the last 5 months, and the rumors of your deeds have traveled even faster than yourselves, if you can believe it.
Yeah, let's join us. And do you mind if my iron kin joins me? Another good friend of mine, Gil, as well. Us two and Astrogard. Is that okay?
I'm a member of the Heroes of Time. I don't know if you knew this.
Yeah, it comes up to.
She recognizes. She kind of gives you a little bow, actually, Gil. Yeah, and she says, a Grazog. She says, it's been many moons since I have seen some of your kin, but we've shared many good campfires together on the paths and trails of Yarrow.
Incredible. Wait, right here. I'm gonna go back in. I'm gonna come back with my great grandfather's lyre.
Oh, nice. Yeah. Larky is
me.
also a bard and looks
Yeah.
approvingly. And she says, I've learned many good songs from the Grazogs. And she says, perhaps we can play a few tonight.
That'd be incredible.
Yeah, and then kind of walks with you guys a little bit, and she seems kind of reticent to talk openly, just kind of like in the crowds and stuff. She's leads you kind of down some paths. She seems to be very familiar with the kind of layout of the Dungeon Brawl, kind of knows where she's going, and goes down to Tavern Row, which I don't think you've been to Tavern Row yet, but is essentially like a bunch of, if you've ever been like to like a sporting event or something where they like just build like, or like the Olympics where like within like the lead up of like 4 weeks beforehand. They just like build a bunch of houses super fast. So it's essentially just like a bunch of buildings that have been like super quickly constructed on kind of like rough foundations that stay there more or less the year round, or they've kind of been like fresh coat of paint tossed on. But it's essentially just like a bunch of like taverns, like places where people can sleep and eat, like restaurants. It has almost like a food truck roundup vibe of just like a bunch of like little houses and shacks with people serving food. But she goes up to like one of the buildings that has kind of like a counter on the exterior where people are like serving drinks, and there's a couple bards that are like playing music and like some doing tricks. But she goes up to a door at the back and like knocks on it, and like the door opens. It's not like super. It's not like a slide thing, but the door opens and someone sees her and says like, "Oh yeah, come in." And she says, "They're with me, they're with me." And you guys come into kind of like a small little like pub that's got like 5 or 6 tables. And this seems to be some kind of like bards like guild or something. Like everybody around seems to be like musicians or jugglers or entertainers. And this is kind of like almost like a little backstage area where if you're a bard, you can come and rest and get some food. So she sits you down at a table and orders you all some food. And then she says, she says, much has happened in the time we've been apart. She says, you've been toppling kingdoms, I hear. And she kind of like looks you up and down, and she says, it seems to have done quite well for you. There's a lot of money in that business, it would appear. She says, last time I saw you, you were, wearing rags and coming frostbitten out of the north.
Astroguard laughs really hard. That's what we did.
It's made you many enemies. If you're not aware. Yeah, she says there are many who sing your praises, but you've interrupted the flow of wealth through the country. She says, as oppressive as it was, Milroth and also the Sapphire King controlled most of the money in the area and did most of the hiring. Things are a bit in shambles if you ask lots of people.
Astroguard says pretty loudly, like, the more the merrier. More heads there are to cut off, the happier I'll be. Getting drunk pretty quick.
Are you Astroguard or Z?
I'm both.
Oh, okay.
He plays both.
Split personality.
Astroguard. I almost made this just way simpler by just killing off Astroguard, but that didn't quite work out.
I appreciate that you didn't do it. Well, I guess I appreciate that luck was on my side.
Luck was on your side. Yeah.
I say, well, I haven't had the courtesy of... So here at this part, I basically talk about the fact that this person that's impersonating me is hiding from me, and they're just like operating in the shadows. So I tell her like, hey, any info would be appreciated. And then I brag about killing a vampiress known as the Dew Queen and her entire blood army.
Larky just kind of laughs and says, now there's a story I would like to hear. She says, for how many deeds you've done, she says, there's not many songs about you. She says, I have a hankering to fill a book of them myself, if you'd appease me over these next few days. She says, if you're going to have your story told around the nations, you may as well have it told correctly.
And then Astroguard kind of butts in. Yeah, but when they say the mind flare controlled me, I just let it control me. But I was actually I was awake the moment it was all part of the plan. All part of the plan.
Yes, a story for another time. Here I mentioned that I would love to correct the incorrectly told stories about Osimo, Astroguard, and Z13.
She says, yes, of course. She says, now to this business about me seeing you earlier. She says, it was a bit strange. She says, there's someone going around and hiring a team for the brawl. But I think it's some kind of front. She says, of course, this is only something I've been catching little whispers of, but it's Hackdon's team. But he's the captain of it and is apparently doing all the hiring, but everyone who's the word on the street, as it were, is saying that Hackton's actually not in charge and there's some elf behind it. I thought I caught a glimpse of them once at the curio market, and it did remind me of you. It said same green cloak, the same clothing, similar temperament to you. They were there and then gone in a second before I had a chance to say hello. So I suspected you were here and went to the boat to find you, but on seeing you, it wasn't you after all. They didn't have the mantle, or their staff was different, or some other differences.
Here, I ask if I can cast the spell Sending and communicate with my simulacrum, Ozzy.
Oh, sure.
I want to ask.
I actually forgot that you have a clone walking around.
I mean, that answers my question there, but yeah,
It's not Ozzy. You can Sending Ozzy right now and ask him whatever you want.
Yeah,
but
that's. I would
Ozzy
just
will
say, like, how are things
give
going?
you some kind of an update about the research they're doing at the tower. Yeah.
But yeah, I think Ozimo would just like check in really. Everything good? You and Willow okay?
Sense. As soon as you have a clone walking around and someone's like, "I thought I saw you," that's probably the first thing you should always do is be like, "Wait, where's my clone?"
Okay, yeah. Then I think. So who Hackton? Is it Hackton?
Yeah.
They're posing as me, or they're assembling a team.
No. Hackton's assembling a team, and they're going to play. They've got enough players. They're on the boards. But and they're the captain of the team, but everyone's saying that there's actually that it's kind of a bit of a front. There's actually someone else doing all the hiring behind the scenes. Hackton's been a big name around here. They've had teams in the brawl before, but everyone says that Hackton's broke. He's run out of money. So it was a bit surprising when they started going around and hiring all sorts of players. Some people even say they've hired Morgenthorg. I don't know if that's true or not. I haven't checked the boards since yesterday evening. Larky's immediately like, oh, they say, no, I only take money for one thing, and that's for my song. And they say, I don't do any sleuthing work for anyone. That's an oath I made a long time ago. It says, and any good bard will tell you the same thing.
Well, then write a song about all the teams and start with them.
He says, you're being clever. He says, but team songs is something for the novitiates and the junior bards. She says, I'm after bigger stories, and kind of like nods towards you a little bit.
Okay, that's fair.
She says, but there's people here who'll do that job for you. She says, there's plenty a kenku or something that would take 250 gold or maybe even less, and post outside just about any tent you're interested in the festival.
Oh, just give me your top referral. Out with them.
Yeah, she says, oh, she's like, I don't necessarily know. Again, this isn't the type of work that I do too much. She says, but if you were to go to the Ever Party, she says, find a woman named Kia. I know that she knows people. And she kind of says, but what brings you here in the first place? She says, yeah, I thought your goals would be nobler than squabbling with common ramblers for gold.
Here, Ozimo references the songs of glass, which are basically like folk tales, or even in some places considered to be like nursery rhymes in this world. Ozimo has recently had an experience to convince him otherwise, though. The songs talk about the 13 founding dwarves that created the plains and the world of Yarrow. Dwarves otherwise don't exist on Yarrow anywhere. The dwarves created 13 iron kin, as the songs call them. They are basically just warforged, and what Z13 is. He was the final iron kin forged by the dwarves, and contains a secret from Time herself within him. We have yet to discover that. So I explained that the Dwarven Treasure that's this reward for the Dungeon Brawl will surely unfold a mystery related to Z and his other iron kin.
She kind of laughs and says, so you're solving fairy tales, she says. She says, I've been taught the songs of glass since I was a child. And she kind of like looks at like Z, and she's like, so this is one of the Ironkin, Wayla's 13th, as the tale goes. Kind of just like strokes her chin. And she says, perhaps. She says, there are strange things afoot. Rumors of the Daybringer, fly across the roads here and there. It's strange that Milroth took that name for himself. It's been in the Songs of Glass for thousands of years.
So here is where it gets pretty thick with details. Literally one session before we started recording these, and honestly the reason why we started to record these was because Ozimo got sent to Elemental Chaos after touching the necklace of a warlock named Lady Whispers. She served the Dew Queen. So I touched the necklace, not one on my charisma save, and then I got sent to Elemental Chaos, where I beheld with my own eyes Eldfen, the creature of chaos that the world's founding dwarves fought against, and that is sung about in the Songs of Glass. I tell Larky about this encounter I had with Eldfen before teleporting to the elemental plane of air to escape, and then, of course, eventually making my way back to the party so that we could fly to the Dungeon Brawl. There's a lot of backstory here. Thank you for your patience as we get a recap video up and going. But I basically just end this part talking about my eyewitness testimony of Eldfen.
She like busts up laughing at this. And she's like, now you're telling me a lie, Azimo.
I want to try and persuade her. Because this...
Well, I'm going to have Z13 like reach out to her, kind of like take her hand very seriously because she's laughing, but he's like, this is my history. He's like, like, you better start believing in fairy tales because you're in one.
Amazing.
I got a 5%.
Wait,
she just laughs. Yeah.
Can I add my persuasion in with my really good quoting of Pirates of the Caribbean?
Definitely.
Because my persuasion is top notch. Yeah, 26.
Yeah, she does listen up. She kind of calms down a little and says, "It could be." She says, She says, with the two of you, it's kind of referencing Ostro and Azimo. She says, I experienced stranger things than I've experienced with many. She said, I've only seen the dead walk 2 times in my life, and one was with you present. And then she said, and the things that we found in that tomb, they were certainly dwarvish, they were certainly old, and the Songs of Glass seem to have something to do with them. She says, so maybe it's true. Says maybe I'm the lucky enough bard to live in a time when prophecy of thousands of years will be fulfilled before my eyes.
I nod in agreement. Don't believe it, start believing.
Like
she says, I will say this. She says, they say that you killed Milroth. It seems to be well documented. But surely, when I see the light in your eyes, I can tell that you suspect he's not dead, and I can tell you that I think that's true. There's been whisperings on the roads. There's still a force somewhere. She says there's still work happening on the circle. You know, it's quieter now and isn't coming as much through the same chains of command, but there's still people being hired in discrete villages and clans, traveling merchants that are going in directions I've never seen before. And what do they carry in their back? They carry strange plans on pieces of paper, shovels, pitchforks, pickaxes. She says it's all still going on, that strange project of his.
In response to Larky about Milroth's strange project and her not believing that he's dead, I respond and basically say that I'm glad she doesn't believe he's dead because I know he's not. We fought and killed a Dracolich named Nioti, who we killed before, decades ago, before our time jump into the Feywild. And in the depths of this temple in Gowan where we found the Dracolich, after marching through the tunnels that led us deeper and deeper, we found a crystal coffin with some salt water in it, along with the powdered remains of a few sapphires, indicating to us that Milroth's soul, upon our killing him, had indeed inhabited a new body, and his wand and spellbook were returned to him via the instant summons spell. I thank Larky for believing he's alive and tell her to be cautious as the Daybringer, Milroth, will rise to power again and destroy this very land and people we love.
Says, very well, then. She says, if that be your legacy, then so be it. It seems like a worthy task to the heroes of time, she says, kind of with like a little bit of a smirk. And then she says, well, I'll let you be on your way. She says, but I'll surely find you again. She says, I'd like to get those stories from you. And it seems like you're competing in the Dungeon Brawl, so, I'll be there cheering you on.
Should we make
Perhaps I'll get to congratulate your victory. What'd you say?
To her, I respond, you can bet on it. But then also I offer to make a daily meal appointment, breakfast, lunch, or dinner that we could chat. I could tell her some.
Sure, she said, yes, I'd like that. She says, I'm busiest in the afternoons and evenings when most people are still awake and have my free time in the in the mornings when most people are still sleeping in, but I don't. So perhaps we'll meet for breakfast. I'll wander my way past your impressive ship you've got there, and if you'd like to come get food and speak tales, then so be it. Cool.
Astro Z, Bill, anything?
Yeah. It's been really talky. We'll just say that Gil maybe just lost interest because a bunch of people talking about people they didn't know. So Gil was just eating food and being like, oh, this is kind of boring.
That's actually really funny.
I'm definitely interested in certain things, especially the recent death of the king. So, anyways, certain things pique my interest. Other things make my eyes wander.
Well, and we'll say this, that Larky, who is also a bard and a singer, I mean, I know that your class is not bard, but you come from a lineage of bards, has offered to, says if you ever want to, play together, then if you can hang out around this booth, then I'll be here, more I'll be stopping in and around here. You can ask where I've gone to, and the bartender should know which part of the camp I've gone to, and you can come join me if you'd like.
Yeah, please. That would be amazing. You remember that I'm not very musical. As a human being, Ian, you remember this. That Gil's very bad, but she's very interested in connecting with that part of her history. So, anyways, I think that would be a very fun experience.
That's perfect.
Of playing terribly with a professional bard.
That's perfect.
And then in the background, Astrogard's just he's left the conversation, is talking to other people, super drunk, just being like, and then I cut off her head. Yes, Deody. Yes, I was alive then.
I mean, to be fair, the bards actually seem pretty interested in you. Like at some point, one of them is like, wait, like you're Astrogard, like you're one of the heroes of time, and then a couple other bards are like, is he for real? And then there are people who want to know your story,
He's
basically. I mean, their bread and butter is they're essentially the newscasters of the medieval world. So it's if they meet a famous person, they're gonna be like, let me buy you a drink and let me hear the full story. So you have a very accommodating audience of 4 or 5 bards who now want to sit you down and listen to you.
He's eating. So in the background, looks like there's serious conversations happening, and then just in the back, Astrogard's doing his. So pumped.
Cool. Yeah. Well, with our last couple minutes, it's probably around lunchtime. So you guys do know they are going to draw the names of who competes with who at the end of today, and then the first brawl will happen tomorrow. Is there anything you want to do with kind of your last afternoon at the festival before the names are drawn?
And I honestly would love to go back and try to buy that one of those wands.
Oh, nice. Yeah, you've got gold now.
Yeah.
Yeah, great. You can find that vendor again. They still have 2 of the wands available. There's the
one of them
wasn't
one of them a teleporting one?
Yes, so the Frostwarp wand, or it's sometimes called the Wand of the Doom Path, is the one that teleports you, and that's the only one of the 3 that has rechargeable, it recharges every day. You want to buy that one?
I would love to, honestly.
Okay, great. It does cost 1,600 gold, but they've told you that you can do that. So
are you guys okay if I get a crazy?
Oh yeah, you can just assume that we were spend the money how you like,
Okay.
Yeah, totally.
That's kind of crazy.
And I'm so glad you're buying this because I desperately want this item to be in our game, because I love it so much.
Amazing.
Here, I'll send you it right now.
I'm pumped that you're getting these magic items because I think that's really gonna help it be more fun. Being lower leveled, you'll be able to
definitely
be a lot more involved. Yeah,
I definitely need armor and things like being able to teleport is very handy.
Once per charge, you can attempt to teleport up to 60 feet in any direction. You roll a d20. On a 1 through 15, it's successful. On a 16 through 18, you teleport 10 feet away from your intended destination. On a 19 or 20, you're teleported to a random location within 100 feet, appearing encased in a block of ice and taking 2d10 cold damage.
Oh my gosh, incredible.
Additionally, the user may attempt 3 teleports per activation. So, like in a single action, you can actually chain teleport with it 3 times. But each subsequent attempt increases the likelihood of a chaotic event by +2. Does that make sense? So, like the first time it works on a 1 through 15, but then the next time you add +2 to that roll, and then the third time you'd add +4 to that roll.
Yeah. Amazing.
But theoretically, you can teleport up to 180 feet in 1 turn. Yeah.
Wow. Oh.
I think
If
it'd be
you're
very
lucky.
helpful with a rogue too. Not a rogue. What am I? I'm a
No, yeah, you're a rogue.
You're a rogue.
yeah.
Yeah.
As a rogue, I can to be able to teleport into places that are advantageous is very handy.
Yeah, totally.
Some sneak attacks.
I'll always just teleport above the person I want to attack, just
Yeah,
in case.
there you go. And it's kind of like a Kirby maneuver. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
Just turn into a block of ice and then smash them.
The actual worst.
Okay, so Osimo, you make your way over to the Ever Party, which is kind of what you would imagine. It's like a lot of people like playing music and drinking and dancing, and it's just like it's kind of like a giant like rave that's just like takes up like a couple football fields worth of like
Gosh.
size. So it's very kind of chaotic and crazy. Go ahead and give me just a fast persuasion roll to see. Presumably, you're going to kind of like ask around, or you're like asking around for this person. Yeah, go ahead and give me a persuasion roll to see how quickly you can do that, and also how discreet you are at doing that.
Very nice.
Oh, nice. You're able to find someone pretty early on who does like point you in the right direction, and you get led over to like an area that's kind of like underneath like a canopy kind of thing, and there's like people in there who are like eating food and like smoking, like it's kind of like a hookah bar vibe. And there's also like music and dancing, and there's this woman, this very beautiful drow, a dark elf woman who's like dancing and talking with people in the middle, and some people are like, yeah, that's her.
Yeah, how you doing? And I'm like dancing.
Great,
Hey,
perfect.
yeah, how's it going?
Give a persuasion roll to just see how effective your are with this woman.
At one.
A nat
For
one.
real?
That's hilarious.
That's incredible.
You go walking towards her. She sees you. Seems like really happy to see you, and is like, "Hey," and like pulls you into the middle. Go ahead and make a wisdom saving throw with disadvantage.
Oh. And
Okay. We'll just say like 6 to 8 hours later, the rest of the party's like, "What happened to Osimo?"
That is so.
They're like, "That guy went to the Ever Party, right?" And I think that's probably where we're gonna end today's session.
Incredible.